Hello everybody, the Great Dino Ranger here again, back with another review, continuing on with the Christmas things that we'll be reviewing. This time we're taking a break from, or a brief stop with Jurassic, and we're moving on to Godzilla. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Playmates Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, Mothra with Gia. This is the 6-inch Mothra figure, this is not the larger one, which that one already is a cool one, but I wanted the 6-inch one because it's, you know, it works with the other 6-inch figures in the lineup. So I am super happy that I got this one for Christmas. It was one of the last ones I needed until the Drowned Viper and One Eye was revealed, so now I gotta find those. But Mothra was one of the monsters from the Monsterverse that I really wanted Playmates to make, because they already gave us Godzilla. And then, I mean, once Playmates got the license, right, they already gave us Godzilla, then they already gave us Rodan. I mean, excuse me, not Rodan, King Ghidorah. And then I was just hoping for a Mothra and a Rodan, just to kind of recreate a lot of the scenes from King of the Monsters, you know, in like picture form, and also just to display them next to each other. It was a good while before we even got anything, but thanks to this movie bringing Mothra back into the franchise, or the Monsterverse franchise, I should say, we finally got the figure, a Mothra figure from Playmates, and this figure does not disappoint. I mean, obviously it's not like as like a higher quality as like some of the other more higher collector figures like SH Monster Arts or something like that, but it is a great Mothra figure, and I'm super happy to finally have it, the Monsterverse version, in my collection. Now all we need is a Rodan. Hopefully we'll get one eventually, but yeah, I'm just super happy to finally have Mothra in my collection, in the Playmates Monsterverse collection. So yeah, she looks really great. I know she's like incredibly tiny. She is actually very tiny. Her body is really tiny. The wings just make her look bigger, but they're also more intimidating because of the Godzilla eye spots on it. So she looks awesome. I enjoyed her in King of the Monsters, and I enjoyed her in the New Empire. Really hope we see her again, because she did not die in that recent film. So hopefully we can see her again. So yeah, and then also comes with a Gia figure, which is pretty cool. But we'll get all into this into the review later. But here's a brief look at the packaging. It's pretty standard for the New Empire toy line. So yeah, and on the side, just more stuff. You got a nice picture of Godzilla and Kong. Here on the back, we just got Mothra and Gia, and a nice render of Mothra and the human character, fully articulated and posable. I mean, that's only for the wings. Her body, her head, or her arms aren't even movable, so it's kind of a little bit of false advertising, but it's nothing nothing to worry about, I would say. And it comes with a nice little bio right here. It says, Ethereal, I believe I'm saying that right, so excuse me if I'm not. Ethereal, guardian of Hollow Earth, Mothra takes flight. As an ally to both Godzilla and Kong, she uses her impressive wingspan to carry Gia where they are needed. So, brief little description there, kind of matching to what happened in the movie. And then we got the other figures in the lineup, which I pretty much have all of them. I don't have these two. I'm not really interested in these. Since I already have Mothra, I'm just interested in getting the Drowned Viper and One Eye. And then hopefully we'll get the rest of the monsters that appeared in that movie later on. And then hopefully Playmates can give us some other monsters from the Monsterverse later on in the future. So yeah, that's basically it for the packaging. Let's go ahead and take a look at this awesome Mothra. Alrighty, so here we have Mothra out of the package, and as we take a good look at this figure is actually really nice. I think I'm more happy with the fact that we finally have Mothra in the Monsterverse Playmates line, because this one's just really good. It pretty much meets my expectations for a Playmates Mothra. I just think it looks really good. I know the giant Mothra that you can also find is also really good too, but I think this one's just really good for its own way. I also like how it's, you know, it's 6-inch, so it kind of goes with the main line of these figures, which is the reason why I wanted this one more than the giant one, because this one's kind of more size accurate with the other ones. Well, pretty much accurate, because she's actually pretty tiny. I mean, her body-wise is actually pretty tiny, but her wingspan's actually a pretty good size. That kind of makes her like a larger, kind of gives off like a larger impression of her size, I guess, which might be exactly how she's supposed to be represented in the movie. Like she has a tiny body, but her large wings and her Godzilla eye spots on her wings just kind of make her big and more intimidating. So I think that's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, a pretty solid figure, I would say. One thing I did notice is that the wings, well, although the patterning on the wings is very beautiful, very detailed, it looks just like the Mothra in the films, the MonsterVerse films, that is. Um, so it looks really good. However, the reason why they're so good is because these are actually sticker decals that are actually placed on the wings. So, I mean, these are not painted, but again, I don't really think Playmates would actually go out of their way to give us a lot of detailed paint, especially in a design, a complex design like this, onto a figure. It might be very basic, kind of like the Jack Specific Mothra figure, the little mini one in those little mini battle sets. Or it could be very similar to like the NECA Mothra from King of the Monsters from 2019. It might have been basic. I mean, it looks good, but when you have stickers like this, it kind of makes her, I guess, feel a bit more complete in a sense, because the wing patterns are just identical to the movie. So it kind of brings out that not really like, it's kind of like lifelike quality, but also just kind of adds more to this figure. It adds more to how special this figure is. So, but yeah, I mean, they're stickers, so I know some people might complain about that, especially over time the stickers might be peeling. I guess you just have to probably you know, probably be careful, especially if it's a kid. They might have to be careful with playing with this one so that the stickers don't end up coming out. But luckily for me, you know, as a collector, she's just going to be sitting on, you know, some shelves anyway, so she's not going to be used all that much unless I'm using her for like a picture or moving her from shelf to shelf and all that. But overall, a really nice figure here. I really like it a lot. It has a fair amount of detail. It's not a whole lot like the previous ones. Yet again, she has a really tiny body, so it's not easy to squeeze in a lot of that nice detail sculpted into such a smaller piece like this. Um, but yeah, we'll go ahead and take a closer look here. As we can see, starting off with the head, it's pretty basic. I mean, everything here is just one solid plastic piece. There is actually no articulation applied to this Mothra figure at all, except for the wings, but there's none in these, in the four arms, none in the legs, or the body, or anything, or even the head. So is a little unfortunate. I would have loved to see articulation, but yet again, it makes sense because for such a small figure like this, it's kind of hard to add a lot of articulation. Especially articulation in smaller figures is kind of delicate. So at that point, you don't even want a kid to play with it, or else it's gonna break, obviously. But sculpt wise, it looks pretty good. It kind of captures the sculpt of the MonsterVerse Mothra very well. Like I said, not in a major detailed way like some of their other figures, but it does get the idea across that this is the MonsterVerse Mothra, and obviously Playmates added in a lot of the signature features of this character, like the head shape and the way the arms are and the way the legs are and all that. But it's pretty nice. So as you can see here in the head, looks pretty nice. You can see the eyes right there. The mouth is obviously in a closed position because she has like these little mandible covers that are covering her mouth, and then they kind of sprung open as she's opening her mouth, but you can tell that they're actually closed here. In terms of the sculpt, you can see her little antennas sculpted at the top there, so they're just kind of hugging the back of her head. But you know, pretty good detail wise, and these tinier front arms right here are pretty good. Not a whole lot of detail sculpted present, but you can tell those are her smaller arms, and you got the little bigger ones right here, which these ones are more for like hooking on to, you know, to mountains or maybe cliff sides, but also just to grasp onto any type of surface. They're also formidable weapons, so she can like claw at her opponents. And these ones are pretty sculpted very nicely as well. Yeah, I think they look pretty good. And if you're wondering why Mothra is like more on this side than over here, it's because I have like this little stand that is propping my phone up, and I can't quite get my head on the other side, so I have to kind of like peek my head over here on the right, just so you know. So
Here on the underside of the body, you got a little bit more sculpt here on the chest area, some more on the rear end area, and then the legs are nicely sculpted, not a whole lot of detail, like I said. Some little divots here on the feet, probably to represent the amount of digits she has on her feet. And you got the back part of the insect. I apologize if I don't remember the correct name for that. It is escaping my mind at the moment, but this is obviously where her stinger comes out of, just like in King of the Monsters. And then on the back, there's just kind of like this smooth texture, so not a whole lot going on there. But it's pretty nice, though. I really like it a lot. And, you know, she stands pretty good, too, on her claws or her limbs. So that's pretty good. Like I said, the wings are just stickers. So obviously be careful with these, but they look really nice. Both the wings. So yeah, I mean, the wings are pretty nice. I mean, I think they're pretty accurate in terms of proportions to her body and the wingspan and all that. So I think it does look pretty good there. I like how Playmates got the correct patterns on the wings. So the big ones have like this pattern, and the smaller secondary wings have, you know, this sort of patterning. So yeah, the little eye spot right there looks really nice. But yeah, just the overall detail. I'm glad they did the sticker approach on the wings. It just makes this Mothra look so much better than kind of giving it kind of like a basic paint job. And actually, speaking of paint job, the entire body is just molded in like this orangish plastic, which is kind of more of her color from the New Empire, because she did have a totally different color scheme in that movie when compared to King of the Monsters, where it was more brown. This one's more of an orangish color, but they got the correct, you know, blue eyes with the white around it, which actually makes it stand out. So I really do like how they did that. Everything else is orange, and you got like this dark brown, but I think it's like black for the tips of each of her arms or claws, and obviously her feet, just to add a bit of, you know, color variation to it. But I think it actually works pretty good. Obviously not as detailed as some of those higher quality collector pieces, but like I said, I really love Playmates' Godzilla figures, and this Mothra is actually pretty good for the price that she is, and for at least the good amount of quality you get in these type of figures. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it when looking at this. Articulation, the only articulation she has is the wings. So the big wings can basically just move, technically, actually up and down. So you can get some nice flapping motions. They can even swivel. So that's pretty cool. I don't really think you really need that, but they can swivel. Then here, these smaller secondary wings, pretty much the same thing. They can just go up and down and swivel. So each wing can individually move. So that's actually pretty cool. You can get a lot of cool poses. So you can get her wings up like that, which is really cool. Yeah, I really do like that. You can make her wings go down as if she's like in mid-flight, or have them kind of straight and all that. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good there. Another thing I want to note too is that she can actually stand pretty nicely depending on where her wings are positioned. So if the wings are all the way up, she can stand pretty nicely. Even halfway down and like a halfway, yeah, down position, she can still stand. And even if it's like straight across, she can stand pretty nicely with that too. So that's pretty cool. That'll definitely add to some different posability you can do when displaying on shelves. So yeah, overall, a really great Mothra figure. Let's go ahead and do some comparisons. Let's see. We will start with Godzilla. So here is the Godzilla Evolved figure from the Playmates line. A really great figure, really great design. I really like this design in the movie. So as you can see, I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, we got a good look at how big Mothra is compared to Godzilla in King of the Monsters, and she was actually pretty tiny. Like I said, her body's pretty tiny when she was like climbing on top of Godzilla before she sacrifices herself to Ghidorah. And I think this is actually fairly accurate, I would say. Maybe her body might be a little bigger, but honestly, I really don't care, because if she's bigger, at least it kind of, I don't know, I kind of like it if she's a bit bigger. But I think overall, I think it's actually a pretty good size overall. Next up, we will compare it to Kong. So here's the Kong with Beast Glove. Pretty accurate, I would say. There isn't a whole lot of comparisons in the movie itself of Kong next to Mothra, but we can assume that this is exactly how it's going to be like. So she's literally tiny enough where she could probably have a piggyback ride on Kong himself if she wanted to. So again, she's small enough where she can actually do that. But it's really cool to see all three of these big classic monsters together, just like in the film. So I think that is really cool, seeing all these ones together. Though I do wish majority of the final battle in that movie had Mothra in the picture instead of just kind of more in the background. But that's just me, though. Either way, the movie's awesome. So yeah, and then I think the last thing we will compare it to is King Ghidorah. So this is the Playmates one that I actually reviewed last year. But I mean, this one's not going to be 100% either, because this King Ghidorah is actually pretty small, pretty downsized compared to actual Godzilla. I don't know why Playmates kind of downsizes some of these larger monsters. So just like Shimo is not entirely accurate in terms of scale next to Godzilla, and neither is King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah is supposed to be much taller, obviously much bigger with the wingspan. So I don't know if that would like jack up the price or anything if they were to do that. But I mean, it's a fair size. It's not the best, but it is a fair size nonetheless. So, but you know, compare King Ghidorah to Mothra. Again, body-wise, she is pretty tiny, but her wingspan is actually pretty good. Makes it kind of like a somewhat of a fair match with King Ghidorah. Not really though, but it's really cool how we have all three of these so far. We have 3 out of the 4 classic monsters from King and the Monsters. So I'm hoping Playmates is going to come out with a 6-inch Rodan figure to be added to this line, because I think Rodan is long overdue at this point, considering that we already got Ghidorah. Playmates gave us Mothra last year, so honestly, I think we just need Rodan to complete the lineup. I know they already had the Titan Tech Rodan figure from Playmates. That one, it's cool looking, but it's definitely way too big, and I don't really care about the whole transforming battle armor stuff like that. So I'm hoping not Mattel, Playmates is going to give us a 6-inch Rodan somewhere down the line. Maybe if they do another random Monsterverse Playmates assortment, just like what they did with King Ghidorah. So I'm hoping they'll do that, because we desperately need a Rodan figure. But yeah, compared to all these, they look pretty good. I almost forgot when doing this review. I totally forgot about the Gia minifigure, to be honest. I was too busy focusing on Mothra. But here we have, you know, the little mini Gia figure that comes with Mothra, and there's actually a lot of good detail packed into this little minifigure. You can see a lot of the cool detail in the clothing, even her little headband on top. The paint job is actually really good, and obviously she comes with a stand to help the figure stand. Now, obviously, this is definitely not to scale at all. Mothra is definitely not this tiny. She's pretty huge compared to a human, but this right here is definitely not a really good scale at all. And even if I compare it with some other things here, such as Godzilla, this is just not right at all. Godzilla, I mean, this is not a very good or accurate scale at all. Godzilla is definitely much bigger, or at least in this case, a human is definitely much smaller. Even with things like these little accessories that we've been getting with a lot of the other Playmates Godzilla figures. I mean, even the heave right here isn't even a really accurate disguise. Like seriously, this is not accurate at all. So there's a lot of inconsistency, excuse me, with a lot of these smaller vehicle accessories. They're all like various different sizes. So obviously here, not everything is to scale. Mainly the monsters. These are just fun little play things to, you know, kind of enhance, you know, playing or display with all these different things. But, you know, just thought I'd point that out. It's a nice little Gia figure. You know, she's an interesting character in the Monsterverse. I'm wondering if she's going to show up in the next one. I assume so, because if Kong's going to be in it, then,
she has to be in it. So, but yeah, really cool minifigure, and yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it for Mothra. Yeah, overall, I really like this figure a lot. It's a great addition to the MonsterVerse Playmates lineup. I'm super happy to finally have Mothra, because before this new movie, she is definitely a monster I was wanting for the Playmates line for a long time, since Playmates started doing these figures from like Godzilla versus Kong, so I always wanted a Mothra figure. So I'm glad we have one, and she doesn't really disappoint in my opinion. So I know she's more of a basic figure, but in my opinion, I think she works pretty well. It's a solid Mothra figure, and I highly recommend it for any Godzilla fans out there. I'm really happy with it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this review. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys again for the next video.